When you're looking at the state of play right now, why did you feel the need to speak to President Trump about coronavirus? What was the point behind that conversation?
Well, the whole thing was, you may remember, well, you maybe didn't remember because you've been feeling so badly. You had a high fever at the time.
I'm still in it. Don't worry. I'm still in it.
Well, no, I know, but Kellyanne Conway, Miss Conway, who I don't know, I've never met, said about 4 or 5 days, I can't remember the exact date, if Biden really wanted to help, he'd stop criticizing and call the president and offer his help. And so my staff responded, I'm happy to talk to the president if he wants to talk to me. And we didn't get any follow-up until yesterday. I got a call when I was going on a show, one of your colleagues' show, and said they wanted to talk to me. And so I called the president. I called the White House. And sure enough, the president wanted to talk. We had a good conversation. I laid out what I thought he should be doing. I laid out 4 or 5 specific points that I thought were necessary. I indicated that it's about taking responsibility and being the commander-in-chief, taking on the responsibility. He asked whether or not we would not discuss the detail of what we talked about, just say that we had a good conversation. He was very gracious in his conversation. And so it was, the president, I had an opportunity to tell him what I would have done, what I thought, the lessons we learned, and that's what he talked about.
Why is it a good thing for the American people for you guys to talk, but us not really know what happened?
Well, it's not he's laid out what happened. I laid out I laid out the 5 things I thought he should be doing now. And suggested how I thought he should go about doing it. He should fully implement the Defense Production Act. He should appoint, at the same time, a supply commander who controlled it all. He should create a Bank Defense Production Act because the big banks don't want to lend to small businesses. He should exponentially ramp up drug testing, and he should open up a new enrollment period for Obamacare. And I thought he should collect a lot more data and make it mandatory, the collection of data nationally on those African Americans who are contracting the disease and dying at a much higher rate than other folks. And then I indicated a few other things that I thought. He said, rather than us characterize what each of us said, and the reason I'm telling you this is because I already had said those things, and he was very gracious, and that was the end of the conversation.
The pandemic has changed everything. I use that as an assertion. Do you agree? And if so, how has it changed what you need to do to lead this country and what you need to convince the American people of?
Well, a couple things. Number one, I think that the biggest problem is the president was so unprepared. The administration was so unprepared. Back on January 22nd, he said he had it totally under control. Everything's going to be fine. On the 27th of January, I wrote a piece for USA Today saying that he left us unprepared for this dangerous epidemics. He dismantled the Office of Global Health, et cetera, all the things he did. And back on the 1st, I think it was, I tweeted that we were in the midst of a crisis with coronavirus, and we had to act, and we had to listen to the science. Then back again in the middle of the month, I talked to Morning Joe about the need that we had to. The president's claim that it would disappear with the warm weather. I said, this is just, he can't make things up. You got to stop. I talked about, in a speech, I laid out a 5-point plan on the 12th, what I thought we should do, fully implement the act, fully empower a supply commander, et cetera. And so I've been talking about this for some time to try to prod the president, prod them into moving more rapidly rather than slowly. The coronavirus is not his fault, but the way in which we responded to it is his problem. He is the commander-in-chief. He should be taking full responsibility, not blaming everyone, it's always somebody else's fault. He is the commander-in-chief. He should organize this.
I'll give you the same piece of free advice that I give the president here on a regular basis. Everybody knows the reality in this country. Everybody knows if you're being straight with them or not, because they know the stories in their own lives and around them. Nobody thought it was going to end by Easter. Everybody knew. And if there was a time not to lie to the American people, it's right now. Let me ask you this, former VP, not to punish you for success, but if you were to win this election, win the nomination, win the general election, you may inherit an economy that'll make what you inherited in 2008 look like the halcyon days. How daunting a challenge with the disruption, the American fabric of what keeps us together. We are afraid in a way I have never seen before. How big a challenge are you looking at?
Well, I think it's probably the biggest challenge in modern history, quite frankly. I think I think it may not dwarf, but eclipse what FDR faced. But like everything we've ever done, Chris, if we think about it now, we are able to, we're the only country in the world that's taken on crises and come out stronger for it. We have an opportunity, Chris, to do so many things now to change some of the structural things that are wrong, some of the structural things we couldn't get anybody's attention on. In a sense, no pun intended, the Band-Aid's been ripped off here. Everybody now understands that we have a voting system that is not transparent and clear and available for everyone. Everyone understands that the environment has impacted on this coronavirus and mounting evidence of that. Everyone understands that we have to lead the world. We can't just sit back because no one else will. Everybody understands we have to, in fact, not only deal with another significant increase in funding for people who need the money just to keep their homes, just to keep their apartments, just to be able to keep things going. We then have to have a reconstructed part of this, just like the Recovery Act. And in that, we can do a lot to make things better across the board, including being better prepared, as we suggested to the president and his team back when they took over, when they became, the new administration came into office. We had CDC members in other countries to anticipate when viruses were going to occur. We should have had people in China. Our people stayed in China, so see exactly what the Chinese were telling us, whether it was true. There's so many things we've learned here that I think the public's going to be so much more ready to deal with some of the structural change that has to take place. But it's going to be very difficult. But I have incredible faith. All kidding a lot. No, I don't think so. But we're not going to have to. We're going to be prepared. Here, look, here's the other thing. One of the things, you know, you and I've been on your show a number of times, and I talk about restoring the soul of America. You're seeing the soul of America now. Look what Americans are doing. Average Americans, they're not asking anything about, they're not talking about divisions based on race or ethnicity or any of that malarkey. What they're talking about is they're reaching out and helping everyone. Look at these first responders. Without the equipment, they're going in and they're trying to save people's lives, and they are saving lives. They're doing things that are truly heroic. The person stacking the groceries on the shelf, the first responder pulling someone out of a car crash. All these things people are doing. This is the America we know. This is who we are. This is the soul of America, and we're seeing it. And by the way, I'm not trying to be solicitous. You're the embodiment of the soul of America. You're the embodiment of it. Never giving up. Just don't give up. Never, never, never. Just get up. And that's what you're doing, and you're an example to everybody. A lot of other people as well. Ordinary people doing extraordinary things. That's why I have faith. I have faith this is going to be really tough. It's going to hurt a lot of people. God love them. They're going to be, my heart goes out to all those people who've lost a husband, wife, child, mom, dad. Those people who, a friend of ours just had to listen to her mom die on a telephone because she couldn't go there when she was and it wasn't because of the coronavirus she was dying. She was dying because of a cancer ailment. You know, I mean, these things that people are so alone, but look at what we're doing. People are doing incredible things for one another. And that's who we are. That's the soul of America. It really has.
Yeah, everything has
and we just have to make it work.
And they're giving you guys a second look. I can feel it. I can see it in people's attitudes that they're giving people a second look. They're giving people in my business a second look. But with that privilege comes a very, very high price. You know people are hurting. You know they're scared. And you know they're listening for any kind of BS, and they're going to hear it half a second before it escapes any politician's mouth. But VP Joe Biden, thank you very much for straight talk on the show.
Truth. Thank you. Get well,
Stay
pal.
safe.
I think a lot
Stay
about
well.
You.
Thank you, sir. You're always welcome on the show.
You're in my rosary, pal.
Thank you. Thank you very much. You've been good to me in the past and now. I appreciate it. Be well.